have seen Solo: A Star Wars Story, and I have thoughts. This is a spoiler-free review, and it's gonna go a little all over the place because, to be totally honest, I have mixed feelings about the movie. I went in expecting this completely familiar, kind of nostalgic feel, kind of a summer flick, but this movie is an unexpectedly bold adventure that reaches depths of the Star Wars galaxy I never thought imaginable on the big screen. Exploring young Han Solo, to me, was a gutsy move. This character has never carried his own movie, and you're giving it to a brand new young actor. Now, much like the other anthology Star Wars movie, Rogue One, Solo is not about the Jedi, the Sith, the Force, or lightsabers. It doesn't have an opening crawl, it's not scored by John Williams, and you have 3 new actors portraying 3 beloved characters we've known most of, if not our entire lives. These aren't necessarily negative criticisms, but it's worth noting why it might take a hot minute to adjust to the fact that you are watching a Star Wars movie. It took me about 30 minutes or so to feel like Solo had found its footing, and that's right around the time that Lando Calrissian comes into play. But once it gets going, it makes the jump to light speed, and it does not slow down. Now, there was a lot of talk of behind-the-scenes drama. Legendary screenwriter Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and The Force Awakens, teamed up with his son John Kasdan to pen the flick, and Ron Howard, who was in George Lucas' pre-Star Wars movie American Graffiti, by the way, in 1973, stepped in to direct late in the game after Phil Lord and Christopher Miller departed over creative differences. And you might see people saying that they picked this up on screen, but I truly didn't notice. Plus, the combo of Howard and Kasdan kind of brings a sense of warmth to the movie. Much like Han Solo himself, this movie isn't without flaws, but none of those flaws stem from Alden Ehrenreich's portrayal of the iconic smuggler. I never doubted this guy, always loved him, but there were reports he had to have an acting coach on set and fans were panicking, but no. This dude has all the roguish charm that makes up Han Solo without doing a single impersonation of Harrison Ford. It's rather impressive. You probably expected this one, but Donald Glover's take on the suave Lando Calrissian and his many capes is a scene stealer through and through. In fact, some of the biggest laughs for me in a Star Wars movie to date came courtesy of Lando and his overtly sassy droid and co-pilot L337, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. She really goes there. Now, the newcomers all bring something to the table, but the heart of Solo was completely about Han and Chewie's budding relationship. We get to see these two meet for the first time and lay down the foundation of what brought them together as co-pilots and BFFs. And you've got to tip your hat to Jonas Suotamo and Alden Ehrenreich's seamless chemistry. Now, Jonas kind of discreetly snuck into the Star Wars franchise to take on some more action-intensive scenes for Peter Mayhew in The Force Awakens, and has since kind of quietly taken over the reins as Chewbacca almost entirely. And they're finally starting to bring him to the forefront, and I just really enjoyed his performance in this movie. I think he's so fantastic. Anyway, as I mentioned, Solo goes some unexpected places, for better and for worse. When you bring together a young Han, Chewie, and Lando, I expect these well-known kind of nostalgic beats like the Kessel Run, Chewie's life debt, Han winning over the Falcon from Lando, and some of these things happen, some don't, but the ones they do tell are in very surprising ways. Like, you may have assumed how things happened and went down in your headcanon, and it's not that way at all. It brings surprising new facets to these legendary tales while throwing in brand new concepts and characters and some big surprises that tie in the Star Wars lore as a whole together in a very daring way. I wasn't terribly worried about spoilers ahead of Solo, but having seen it, I urge you to avoid them at all costs. Solo is going to challenge viewers to dive deeper into the mythos of Star Wars, and it will be very interesting to see how these gutsier moments are received among general audiences, and whether or not diehard fans are on board with the direction the possible saga could take. I found it a little bold for the big screen, but we'll see. I'm still processing. We're going to dive deeper into spoilers after release. There's so much to unpack and so much that I want to openly talk about, but we have to wait. At the end of the day, though, Solo is a fun movie. You're going to have a smile on your face, you're going to have a really good time, and of course, you can tweet me any spoiler-free questions you have. I'm happy to answer them, as long as they're spoiler-free. You can see Solo on May 25th. May the Force be with you.